evening to everyone watching this FJMC special program, part of our keynote series, sponsored by the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs. I'm Norman Marins, one of the webinar chairs for FJMC. And tonight we're pleased to have with us the international president of the organization, Alan Budman, and FJMC's newly appointed executive director, Rabbi Noam Raucher.
Honored to be here to share this time and this space with you all. My name is Noam Raucher. I'm a rabbi. I was born and raised on the East Coast, went to Hofstra University, graduated in 2002, and then spent some time working for Hillel in San Diego, moved back east for a little bit, and lived at home before going back again to California for rabbinical school. Went to the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies for 6 years. In that meantime, I not only became a rabbi, I also became an educator, picking up a master's degree in education, and spent the first 5 years of my career in Charlotte, North Carolina as an assistant rabbi at a wonderful community known as Temple Israel. It's on a beautiful campus known as Shalom Park, and the synagogue itself was also recently featured in Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, so you should check it out. It's a beautiful synagogue. And then I came out west again with my family to be the senior rabbi in Pasadena at the Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center, another great community, and spent 3 years as the senior rabbi and realized I wanted to go into education. And so I spent, some time trying to do that. Eventually the pandemic hit, and I went through a divorce and tried to find a new line of work as a rabbi, as a teacher, and eventually became a teacher of Judaics over at Pressman Academy, teaching elementary and middle school students for 2 years, eventually finding this opportunity. Along the way, throughout all that, I was building a family. I got married, I got divorced. I have 2 lovely boys, Judah and Elijah. Judah's bar mitzvah is right around the corner. And I come from a lovely family of 4 kids as well, and to 2 loving parents who are still primarily on the East Coast. A family of educators and active members of the Jewish community. And so communities like FJMC and synagogues are very natural to me. And FJMC in particular is very natural to me because back in 2018, I got involved with the men's movement through an organization known as the Mankind Project. And it was a wonderful and still is supportive community for me, which I have some deep friendships now. And a real group of guys that I can turn to, when I'm going through life and really need to reflect and process it and deal with it in all the healthy ways that are out there. It's a wonderful community for me, just like FJMC is now a wonderful community and home for me. And I'm finding it to be a wonderful group of men who I can turn to as brothers when I need support as well. There have been great friendships I've now developed along the way. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me to take a couple of different things that have been, in my orbit, being a rabbi, being an educator, being active in the men's movement and developing a voice for that, to now bring that to FJMC and see where we can really go, especially towards our 100-year anniversary, which is coming up in about 6 years. So I'm looking forward to this journey with all of you. And that's just a little bit of background about me.
Okay, thank you. Alan?
Thank you, Norman. I appreciate your setting all this up, and thank you to Bruce for running it. I've been active in the FJMC International for 20 years, attending my first convention in 2003. I was at that time, I was a club president at Temple Sinai in Dresher, which is the Middle Atlantic region. I've then worked my way up. I became very active in the K-Ruv movement, became co-chair of that, continued as regional president, etc., and then worked my way up on the executive committee. I'm a retired attorney. It's been 4 years now. I am happily married with 2 lovely daughters, both of whom are also happily married, and they have a lovely daughter each, one in the California area and one here in Pennsylvania. So I'm thrilled to be able to meet with you all tonight. I thank you all for being on, and I think we're going to have a wonderful evening.
Thank you to both of you. Let's go back to the last week of June, first few days of July. Seems like it was longer than a couple of months ago, but we all gathered in Philadelphia for the FJMC convention. And your thoughts on that event?
I'll start if I may. Noam had just began that week, so it was very new to him, I can tell you that. It was, I've been to every convention since 2003. It was a fantastic weekend, several days. About 400 people gathered in Philadelphia. A lot of ruach, a lot of learning, a lot of sharing. rekindling old friendships, making new friendships, as always. We just had a fantastic time. I was able to set forth my agenda for the next couple of years. I'm hoping to discuss some of that tonight as well. Some of the things that are important to me. Suffice it to say, as I said in an article I wrote earlier, when my cousin asked me, how's that lox and bagel thing going? I said, what? And she said, well, men's clubs. And I said, well, if that's all it was, I wouldn't waste my time. So that should give you a sort of an introduction to what I'm all about. Thank you.
No sooner did that event conclude, we moved on to the planning for the 2025 convention in Chicago. And your thoughts on that event coming up?
Noam, go ahead.
I like the way he said Chicago. I'm excited for it. I mean, any opportunity to go to Chicago and experience that beautiful city and the Jewish community there is a privilege. So that convention should really prove to be a wonderful one, I think, for everyone involved.
We can't wait to welcome you.
Thank you.
It'll be right on it's a beautiful location right down in Center City. Very exciting. The hotel is lovely. The accommodations are wonderful. We understand that the caterer is very good. The food should be excellent. And I want you all to come and join us. We'll have a fantastic time. We'll learn a lot. There's always great speakers, great learning, great entertainment. You can't beat it. And it's a heck of a price too, I might add.
One of the items that was discussed quite extensively in Philadelphia was attracting younger men to the organization, starting right up through the club level and beyond. And also attracting, along with the younger men, their families as well. Your thoughts on that agenda for the future?
Well, I'll give the short answer, and then no one's going to give a much longer answer, I can tell you right now. But I'll give you the short one. The short one is that we are focusing on Jewish families. So we're broadening our scope. It's not just Jewish men. Please believe me, we're not excluding Jewish men by any stretch of the imagination. But we are broadening our scope to include the Jewish family. And by doing so, we are hopeful and we believe that the younger member will be more interested in coming out to the events that we're going to be doing. Because if we're going to be doing something that appeals to the entire family, we believe that that will bring out the younger member so that they can enjoy with their children. My own club is a model for this. They have a tremendous group of programs that appeal to men in the 37 to 45 age group or so, such as a daddy-daughter dance, Olympics. You can guess what that is. They do axe throwing things, not with the kids, of course. Whitewater rafting, sorry, not the calm rafting, the lazy river rafting, things like that. That kids love. They go to the various events, and therefore it brings out people to share and to meet each other and make new friendships and join the men's club, of course.
Okay, thank you. Rabbi?
Absolutely. I mean, I support Alan's ideas and his vision in bringing in families as part of FJMC's programmatic focus. 110%. It's a wonderful idea. And reaching out to young fathers is part and parcel of that whole thing. What I think we also need to ask ourselves is how are we going to do it, right? And what are going to be the methods by which we really make it happen? And are we willing to change things necessary in order to make that happen, right? If we can ask ourselves right now, would we want to go to the programs that our own fathers went to, right? Or grandfathers went to? And if we wouldn't say yes to that emphatically, right, then, we can't expect the younger generation to want to come to the same programs that we enjoy right now. It means that we're going to have to do things differently. But I think Alan's on the right track. I think we've got a great game plan for that. And I think it's going to be part and parcel of the success we bring to this organization and allowing it to thrive.
You foresee that being drilled down to the club level through the congregations, through the individual synagogues, or how will that be approached?
Well, that's exactly what we do. What we do is usually we get our programs from the ground up. In fact, someone has been asking on chat, how do you get your programs? And most of them come from our clubs. Our clubs come up with these ideas. They then inform us of them. We have a process called Torch Awards, where we give awards to clubs for great activities. They give us a very detailed description of what they've done, and then we promulgate that amongst our other clubs so that therefore clubs can copy, if you want to call it that, from each other and learn from each other. When we have convention, clubs get a chance to feature what they're doing so that the other clubs can learn that. When I went to my first convention 20 years ago, I was an incoming men's club president. My sole purpose in being at that convention was to learn about new programs that I could take back to my club and implement. And that's what we did. And we had a lot of success.
We can move on to the area of FJMC club support and expansion and the commitment on the part of FJMC to make the clubs the best they can be. Your thoughts on that?
We absolutely are, first of all, reaching out to all our clubs to offer any assistance we possibly can. We want every club to be what we call a quality club. And that's another reward we give out. A quality club is a checklist, basically, for clubs to follow. It has about 26 items on it. And if you qualify for the quality club, I can assure you, you are an excellent club. It's a great way for a club to know what to do. If they have any questions, gee, I'm kind of floundering. I don't know what to do. Where do we go? How do we make ourselves a better club? Go on the FJMC website, please, at fjmc.org. Look under the title on the menu that says awards, and then click down to quality club. You will get under there. You will see a listing of what it takes to be a quality club. And if your club follows that, if you do half of those things, for example, you don't, not only do you win the quality club award, but you in fact become an excellent club. It really helps you. If you have problems beyond that, if you have individual issues that you need solved, we're here to help you. We are all about the clubs, and we want to help the clubs as best we can. So for example, we have a group of consultants, very experienced guys who've been around the block a long time. They've all been club presidents. I think there are 11 of them right now. We call them the 311 guys. 311 is the phone number, the number you dial when you have a problem. Let's say in your community, your street light is out or wherever you need something, a pothole fixed or whatever. It's the same thing here. When you have a problem in your club that you need some help with, just contact us, contact the 311 guys. Again, you get all this information on the website, fjmc.org. Tells you exactly where to click to get that information. Go under fjmc.org, go under clubs. Under that, you will find the listing for the 311.
I think this is also going to be about whether or not clubs share the, information with one another, right? In the hopes of supporting each other, in the hopes of the programming blossoming and evolving and, growing in different ways, right? That's the whole point, right? So we've got to be willing to share what we're doing and be brave enough so that other people can learn from what we're doing in our own local communities.
In terms of all the advances that the FJMC has made in recent years, the launching of individual memberships, for example, recognizing Orthodox Reconstructionist reform, et cetera, and welcoming in the men in those various areas of belief as well. How does this all impact in terms of the vision, the statement for FJMC moving forward?
It's not only the community of Jewish men that we need to really be concerned with, right? Judaism is part of the marketplace of ideas, right? It is considered a spiritual technology by which people borrow from it all the time, right? We know of members of our own community who see themselves as Jew-boos because they take of the Jewish tradition probably from where they came and grew up. And Buddhism, a religion that they came to at some other point, found inspiration and meaning from, and decided to join those identities together and found real, the word's escaping me, but I guess similarities between the two at the very least, or consistencies between the two belief systems, so much so that it worked for them. People pick and choose from Judaism and apply it to their daily lives on a regular basis simply because it is a wisdom tradition that is out there on the marketplace of ideas for people to enjoy. You see non-Jewish couples who get married with a chuppah all the time because it looks great in photographs, right? That's an example of what we're talking about. There are other wonderful ideas like Shabbat, which is used as a spiritual technology to encourage people to take a tech Sabbath, right? And to leave technology behind, right? A lot of these ideas that are out there in the, pop culture are, rooted in Judaism. And so we have to think about how can FJMC be a resource for men, all men, as they try to grow into these new, I want to say, standards and requirements of what it means to be a man in the 21st century. Where I would think a generation or two ago, a man required much harder skills to get through the world, didn't necessarily require emotional language, more emotional skills by which to get by, and also, believed in a very just kind of traditional home gender role lifestyle between, who brought home the bacon, who was the provider, and who was the caregiver to the children and the homemaker. And in the last generation, as a result of the feminist movement, as a result of the sexual revolution, a lot of that has changed and been upended. For every 100 women that attend college, 74 men do. Men are losing jobs left and right to women. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. We think it's great for women, right? That they're finally getting all these opportunities that they've been striving for, but men aren't keeping up. And so there's a great deal of worry out there, particularly for men who haven't grown up with the type of soft skills to connect emotionally with other people and to know what it is to be a caregiver, are finding themselves lonely, and are finding themselves isolated, and are finding themselves depressed. And that leads right into a high suicide rate for young men. And so FJMC is a real opportunity to address any number of the concerns that men face, knowing that the standards for what it means to be a man has shifted, particularly. And so I'm really curious to know how many people really want to join us in that revolution, because that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about a real opportunity to create a Jewish community that is focused on the health and well-being, the spiritual health and well-being of all men.
Where does FJMC stand on DEI issues, diversity, equality, inclusion?
I'll handle that one. 2 years ago, well, several years ago, I wanted to morph, if you will, our K-Roof movement when it was ending into an inclusive effort. And it didn't go anywhere, I have to be honest with you, at that time. So 2 years ago, I had an opportunity to bring it back. And we announced it. We said we're going to get involved in an inclusion initiative. We threw it out there. We got a lot of volunteers right away. We had a very large committee of over 20 people. We partnered with the Women's League in this regard. And we sat down and worked very diligently to write a paper, which is called the Inclusion Guide. And again, I'll refer back to the website. Go on the website, look under programs, and then scroll down to where it says inclusion. And you will see a tremendous amount of information. Not only is the Inclusion Guide there, the Inclusion Guide basically is a step-by-step process that you can follow to bring inclusion into your club, your Women's League affiliate, or your shul. We are very, very strong on this issue. This is a major undertaking for us, and it's one of our most important programs. So we're putting a lot of emphasis on it. It's not only is that there, we also have a questionnaire to be used. A lot of clubs, affiliates, shuls, etc., think that they are inclusive, but if they take this survey, they may find that they maybe need a little work after all. Sometimes people don't quite realize what they're doing or saying, or not saying perhaps, and maybe somebody's being turned off by that. It's very important, for example, to make sure that you are out front on inclusion on your website, and it has to be near the top of your website. Burying it somewhere doesn't help. You have to tell people who are potential members of your club or shul, we're an inclusive organization. We want you here. We value Jews of color, the LGBTQIA community, physically and neuro-challenged, those from non-traditional family backgrounds, and any other group. That it's important that they know that they are welcome. We, for free, we will distribute a series of lawn signs to you that you can put in front of your shul. And the signs say, pardon me, I'm a Jew of color. Am I welcome here? And the answer, there's several of them, the answer to all of them is yes, you are welcome here. So we are very, very strong on this issue.
In the absence of a club or a viable club in any geographic area, how will FJMC reach Jewish families?
Well, a lot of it's going to be with Rabbi Raucher's new vision. And I urge you again to go on the website, fjmc.org, and in the upper left-hand corner, there's what we call a slide. Some people call it a carousel. It's an ever-changing list, if you want to call it that, or image that shows different programs. And you'll find his remarks that he gave to us at the executive committee meeting on Friday. You'll find a tape of that on there. You'll also find a detailed written document that he prepared on there. It's like anything else we do, everything is subject to change, so I want you to know that. But please take a look at that. And if you're as excited about it as we on the executive committee are, please volunteer for this. There is a place in the document that gives you an email address you can write to say, yes, I want to be a part of this. And people have seen Rabbi Raucher's presentation, as I said on last Friday at the executive committee meeting, really got energized, really were very excited by what he had to say. It's a whole new direction for FJMC. He alluded to it a little bit tonight, but just kind of, you got a 5-minute summary. He spoke for 40 minutes at the EC meeting, so it's not quite the same, of course. But suffice it to say, it is a completely new way of looking at men's clubs. And anything that you knew, about how men's club worked and how men's club reached out to people, this is a 180-degree change from that. And I think it's very welcome. And when people talk about attracting a younger membership, this, and along with our emphasis on families, is definitely going to be a turning point for us.
Okay, thank you. Another question that's coming in, is there a plan to update the club officers manual?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's a plan. What there lacks are volunteers, however. The club officers manual is about a 150-page document. It's a great book, because that's really what it is, but it's out of date. We don't deny it. And when we try to get people to work on it, it's very difficult to get people to do that. So if you will write to me, Budman at fjmc.org, I will make sure that you get working on that, because it's something we want to get done, but unfortunately, we just haven't had the person power to do it. Budman, Budman at fjmc.org. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. An inquiry coming in from Chandler, Arizona, talking about a good club succession, a plan to develop and mentor men through the club level, and hopefully they get involved and committed to activities within the region, et cetera.
Well, look, I think there's the structural elements of it, right? The plan, the people that you have in mind and the positions and how you set that up and inform them about what exactly is required of them and how deep that roster really is, right? And is the regional representative also aware of your circumstance, so much so that, if you needed to reach out and get support, they'd be able to, help you out without there being a lot of confusion involved. But, that aside, right, if you don't have that, then I don't really know what you have at all. But if you don't have intent, and that is to say, or not necessarily intent, but investment, that is to say, you could have people in their positions and they could think yeah, I'm in this role now, and eventually I'm going to have to move to the next role. But if they don't really want to be there, if their heart and soul isn't in it, then there's really, all you're really doing is kicking the can down, right? Because what we need are people who really are excited about the positions that they're in, because they want to take their leadership opportunity seriously and do something exciting with it. Not people who are just there to fulfill the chain of tradition and pass the information along. Okay, so this is about really inspiring people to invest in your community because they want to, because they have a personal investment in it, in themselves, because they see that people in the community have a personal investment in them. Okay, so have the structure, set it up. Good. I'm glad it's in place. Set the investment as well amongst people so that they actually really want to be there, and keep your club around because it's a place that they enjoy going and people they enjoy being there with, and they want to be a steward of it, right? That's really what we're talking about. We call it leadership, but this is really about stewardship of your community, of your men's community. So it is there's a supportive element and experience for other men in your community at some point.
I think it all begins with nurturing future leaders. I was nurtured. Larry Allen is a past international president. He was a member of my synagogue and my club, and he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself 30 years ago. And he told me, as I said, 30 years ago, that he thinks I'll be president of International someday. And believe me, that was before I was even a club officer. So look for people who have that spark, those skills, the talents. They'll say, "Oh, I don't have the time." Everybody says they don't have the time. 20 years ago, when I was a club president, I had 2 teenage daughters. I full-time job. I ran my own business. I taught part-time. In addition to all of that, I still found time to be club president. If you're nurtured, if the leadership is developed, and we do that, we train leaders, and I'll get into that a little later if I'm asked if we have time about it. But we do that for you. We can train your leadership, but you have to find the person who has that spark that maybe they don't even know about.
Okay, thank you. Are there organizations, external organizations that FJMC envisions partnering with on various programs to reach a wider community, such as the ADL, Keshet, USCJ, MRJ?
Absolutely. And we're going to need to expand even further beyond that, interfaith programming and being welcoming to interfaith families, and also interfaith programming with co-religionists in other communities is also still a focus of FJMC, and will need to be a focus as we move forward into the future. And particularly when it comes to families, it's going to be important for us to partner with organizations like 18 Doors, which is formerly interfaithfamily.com. But either way, those are going to be opportunities for us to reach a broader audience and particularly address the non-Jewish fathers within the community. Look, they're some of the greatest contributors to the communities, the non-Jewish fathers who are part of the Jewish communities. We were in Dallas, and the synagogue we went to on Shabbos morning. One of the fathers I met was a remarkable guy. He was a firefighter, and he's a father of 2 young kids at the synagogue. Met his wife as well. He just contributes everywhere to the community, to his home life, because that's part of who he is. But it's going to be part of our mission to welcome those fathers in as well and celebrate them through partnering with organizations like interfaithfamily.com. And eventually other organizations to focus on things like, our environmental focus, like Shomrei Adamah, focusing on actually the Adamah organization. We need to focus on, young college guys. So partnering with AEPI and Hillel will really be essential to our programming, and figuring out a way to actually get that done will be crucial. There are any number of other Jewish organizations out there that we could work with that I think there's there's a lot of opportunities to do, different programs with.
We've worked with a lot of different organizations that are outside of us, and we're thrilled to do it. We have a new combating anti-Semitism program, which works hand in glove with ADL. We have worked, you mentioned the Keshet organization, which is the Jewish LGBTQIA group, Jews of Color, various other groups, Blue Dove, which is involved in the mental health field. So we are absolutely open to working with them. We have and will continue to do so. We're involving other Jewish war veterans in our program of combating anti-Semitism.
Looking at the Jewish family, is there an avenue for encouraging women to join FJMC?
Well, we don't want to step on the toes of Women's League, so
right.
But we are not actually actively, I should say, recruiting women to join FJMC. Having said that, I will tell you that there are some women members of FJMC. Our bylaws do not bar it.
And I think we welcome it. I think we do welcome women as members of FJMC and to attend, men's club programs, throughout the course of the year in their local communities. I will say that I do believe that there is a real power in gendered programming and having a men's only community and creating that type of sacred space for men to be able to share. So I am going to say that I think HMV needs to remain a sacred space for men only, to resist the temptation to try to open it up, but to suggest that if there are women that want to participate, that the women in your communities, that they, create their own HMV opportunity for women to do so. I believe from my experience, I believe that there are only some conversations that men can have with other men, and that having other women there, while it might be inclusive and feel egalitarian, isn't necessary, especially since there is great opportunity for deep conversation amongst men in a men's only environment.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is an interesting question. If FJMC received a donation of $10 million, what doors would that open?
Well, first of all, we would certainly help other organizations. We certainly wouldn't keep it for ourselves. I can tell you that. I would keep, obviously, some of it for ourselves, but a lot of it would go to other needs. For example, we support, and I always mispronounce this, the Abayudaya community. I hope I said that halfway correctly, in Uganda. So I can assure you that a lot of it would go right there. We would certainly offer scholarships for children to go to Jewish camps, Jewish school, etc. There's a lot we would do with that is out external to FJMC. We've learned to get by on not a lot of money, frankly. I'm happy to say now that our financial condition is very good. We have, I'm not going to say a number, but it's a good number. It's a nice number. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. So we're not hurting for money, which is great. But we've learned that we can get by and we can do a heck of a lot and have a lot of influence and a lot of assistance to other people for not a lot of money. So if we had 10 million in front of us, we would endow various new ideas. We would certainly spread that money around to clubs and to other organizations to get them to nurture more leadership, to foster new ideas. We would use that as seed money and plant that so that it brings forth new ideas and a better future for not only FJMC, but our general community, and of course our Jewish community, and of course in Israel as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it possible to promote the brand of FJMC and the men's club without being exclusionary to people that feel they do not fit into the traditional definition of men? Would clubs benefit from a gender-neutral rebrand, as mentioned, or the club?
So I definitely think a rebrand would help us in any number of ways. That being said, I think it is possible to make FJMC as it is now a more welcoming and inclusive place towards people who you would not think would traditionally, seek our services in our community. It will take some work and some time because I think we just have, there's some people who don't know about us and people who might make a lot of assumptions about us. Rightly so. Men's communities are under scrutiny, right? Any type of club of men does, kind of smack of an old boys club to people. So we do have to be wary of people's apprehension about us from the get-go, and how do we deal with that? And what are the, things we have to be cautious about as well? We certainly don't want to be seen in anyone's view as an old boys club in that negative light in that way. We want to be seen as a welcoming and inclusive and loving and non-judgmental community that is supportive to men. And so it might be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more of an uphill battle, and a rebrand might turn things around, but a rebrand is also a bigger project to take on and requires some real deliberate thought about it. So, you have to really decide what's more important at any given time to focus on.
Okay, thank you. Now, going back more than 3 years with the occurrence of the pandemic, it provided a new opportunity for the Federation of Jewish Men's Clubs to communicate through mediums such as webinars, the programs of special interest, special affinity groups, etc. With all that's gone on, and obviously more than 200 programs already having been produced with more on the way, how do you both visualize the use of this medium moving forward for programs like this or others?
Well, I want to say that when the pandemic shutdown started in mid-March, we put our first webinar on 5 days later. We were the first, and I think, frankly, we were the best in offering assistance to not only our own people, not just our clubs and membership, but the entire really Jewish community and the community at large beyond that. We had we've had many topics that have really nothing to do with men's club whatsoever, but are of general interest to the community at large, much of which, of course, is the Jewish community. We featured a lot of rabbinical talks. We had a lot of different things. We now have 11 different affinity groups. Affinity groups, for those of you who are not familiar, are groups that meet on Zoom and discuss a particular topic. So, for example, we have two Yiddish affinity groups. We have photography, sports, cooking, Israeli music. There's plenty more. And if you want more, if you're interested in any more of them, please let us know and we'll start another one. We have no problem with that. Having said all of that and how wonderful this Zoom is, there's still nothing like personal contact. And although we're going to use Zoom and we're going to use these media to communicate with each other and to keep in touch with each other, but I got to tell you something, that when we started meeting up again and we were able to get together and actually commune with each other, there's still nothing like that personal contact. So I urge you all, if you're out there, so to speak, and you're feeling lonely, and as Noam mentioned, join your club. Not just join your club, but go to the meetings, go to the events. It doesn't even matter if you like the event. That's not even important. The important thing is not the event. The important thing is communing with other guys. That's what's important. Make new friends, meet new people. Some you're going to like, some you're not going to like. That's okay too. But the important thing is that you share, that you bond, that you experience the Ruach that only a personal connection can offer you. Thank you.
Thank you. A question about beyond dues. How can regions survive financially when such events as a Man and Youth of the Year program may no longer be a popular way for regions to create a revenue stream?
Think outside of the box. Yeah, I think outside of the box is a way of generating other forms of revenue, particularly if Man of the Year, strikes a negative chord with people. All right. If they seem out of date, you have to think of the more, current ways that our people are likely to give you their money, right? How can you do that? Golf tournaments are a good idea for young guys because they like to be able to get out. Perhaps it's a good way just for them to communicate with one another. But they have a tendency of liking those golfing tournaments, maybe a bowling one as well. But something that also involves their kids, right? So it makes it easy for them to attend. But the whole point is that if the old ways aren't working, everyone needs to start thinking creatively about how they're going to do it, or start thinking in programs that don't require money.
We for example, we can teach a regional club or anybody who wants to have what we call challenges. There's a stock challenge. You pick you have fictional money, I should say, to pick actual stock. Those who pick the ones that rise the highest win a prize. You enter, of course, there's an entry fee for that. We were driving around Dallas today. I saw a fundraiser for, I'm not sure what it's for, to be honest with you. It's called cutestdoginDallas.org. And it's a fundraiser. People are going to pay money and then they're going to raise money to determine which is the cutest dog, so to speak. Well, why can't we do something like that on a regional level? It can be done. We need, again, as Noam said, we need to think outside the box, away from the traditional, okay, we're going to do a dinner, or okay, we're going to have a lox and bagel brunch, or whatever it's been. Those things are great, but they're in the past, or at least they are getting to be in the past, I should say. Let's look for the future. There is so much more out there. We'll be happy to help you with that. You can go online. You put in fundraising events for regional organizations, regional Jewish organizations. Ideas will come up, and we'll be happy to assist you with that as well.
Okay, someone suggested even try to organize a shred-a-thon. I guess for people that are hoarders, that's a good opportunity to get rid of stuff, old papers, etc. Raise some money through that. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm wondering if we can perhaps have your thoughts as we close out this first program in our kickoff series, keynote series.
Well, let me say we're very excited, first of all, to have Noam with us now. He brings a new energy, a new vision to us. We are a very dynamic organization. We're an ever-changing organization. We depend on our membership for new ideas, for obviously activities. We want you. We need you. We alluded earlier, we didn't get a chance to talk about the efforts we're making to expand our reach with new clubs. And we are being very, very aggressive about contacting new clubs. Our assistant Lisa, who's on now tonight, is doing a lot of good work with that. And then it's being followed up by Noam and also by Danny Mando, who's in charge of our outreach. So we're being very aggressive about getting new clubs. That's why we were in Dallas this past weekend, and we met with several new clubs. We were talking to them, and we explained to them, it's not the dues. That's not what's important to us. What's important to us is them. We want their activity, their ideas, their energy. The dues to us is a symbol. It's a symbol that they're willing to make a commitment to us, and we are willing to make a commitment to them because we want to train them. We want to commune with them. We want to share with them. We want to learn from them, and we want to be able to teach them the skills that they need to succeed.
Rabbi?
I couldn't agree with Alan anymore. And just to add, though, that we have a wonderful opportunity as we move towards our 100-year anniversary to really evolve into an organization that meets the needs of 21st century men and masculinity, particularly since the world, what it's requiring of men is kind of ratcheting up every day, it feels like. And certainly also this man box that's out there that prevents men really from connecting and getting close to one another and getting the type of help that they really need and the support that they are entitled to as human beings. And that would simply just be wonderful for, the blossoming of human life. Prevents that in any number of different ways by keeping men shut out from one another. We have a real opportunity to address that, contribute to humanity in amazing ways. I'm not going to let Jewish men get left behind as, these requirements keep adding up and as it keeps moving at a fast pace. I will not let us get left behind. That's what I'm here for.
I just took a look at the questions and answers, and somebody reminded me to tell you that we do encourage individual membership. If you're not a member of a shul at all, or you're a member of a shul that doesn't have a club, you can join as an individual member. It's a nominal $36 a year. That entitles you to every benefit that we offer, including the chance to go to convention. And convention is great. It's as I alluded to earlier, there's nothing like having that personal contact and making new friends. I have, over the 20 years that I've been going to convention, I have made very, very strong friendships, which I cherish and value to this day. And without FJMC and without going to convention, I would have never had that. So if you're a member now and you're sitting back and you've never been to convention, go, please. If you've never been to your regional retreats, please go. There's nothing like it. If you want to learn more and you want to be trained, not just in how to be a better Jewish leader, not just how to be a better FJMC leader, but how to be a better leader in various ways, in your interpersonal relationships, in your friendships, in your business. We have the Leadership Development Institute. It will be this year in December. And if you're interested, talk to me, A. Budman at FJMC.org. If you are not a club member, if you are a club member, talk to your club president about going to that. It's a tremendous experience. Thank you.
Thank you. I think in the time remaining, I'd just like to make a few comments. First of all, I'd like to thank the producer and director of this event for all his assistance and coordination. And I'm speaking of Bruce Fagan for all his time and effort. We've got a great working relationship, and we have a lot of good programming coming up this fall. And I thank the more than 100 people that are on line with us tonight. That is a very excellent showing from coast to coast throughout North America. And in closing, I'd like to wish everyone a Lashana Tova, a great year, and a very happy and sweet year, 5784. If you have comments about this program that would suggest other topics, we're putting a list together so that we will have a pretty full cabinet of activities to choose from moving forward, with at least one program each month moving into 2024. Again, thanking everybody for their participation tonight. And again, a happy, healthy new year to everyone and their families. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on tonight. I wish everyone a very sweet and healthy new year for you and your families. Peace throughout the world. If you want to support us, we're happy, of course, to do so. Please go to fjmc.org. On the far right, you will see a button that says donate. We are currently having a high holiday campaign We would be honored and thrilled if you would include us in your donation this year. Again, I wish everyone a very healthy and happy new year. Thank you for being on tonight.